Welcome to Mini Fights. I'm Brian, and my opponent for this week's game is going to be Andy. I'll just give you a little zoom around the table here so you can see our forces. Andy's playing Cabal, and today I am playing Avengers. I'm going to start it off with Captain Marvel. She is going to fly over the coffee shop here and land within one of the serum and enter activation. Back over to Andy. He's going to do a classic Red Skull activation on first turn. Going to Cosmic Cube and take no damage at all. And he's going to take that 3 power that he gets from the Cosmic Cube and use it to master the cube Crossbones forward. Now, Crossbones is a pretty slow character, so it's pretty advantageous to get him up the field a little bit. Since the Cosmic Cube does actually take one of his actions, he's only got one action left. He uses it to just advance forward his medium movement behind the large building here. Back to me, and my Iron Man's going to advance. And I'm eyeballing that Red Skull, thinking maybe I'm in repulsor range. So, do the move. And check the range here, and get real technical, get the fence out of the way. You can see it's just like just a millimeter or so short. But that's still short, so end up deciding to just go ahead and take the high ground on this really tall size 5 building. It's always a good spot for Iron Man, taking the high ground. Back to Andy. His Crossbones is going to advance twice. And the reason being is that the herbs, which are essentially like a flag in a capture the flag game, the Cabal herbs are right there in front of my Danvers, so he's going to double move up and grab them. He's a pretty decent carrier for that sort of thing. He's reasonably durable, although not very fast. So Bones' dad has got the herbs, and it's going to be back to me. Kind of deliberate who to activate, end up activating my Cap. Looks like I can put a little bit of damage on Crossbones here, hopefully, before he gets activated again, and kind of take off with the herbs, get behind the building, and block LOS to my whole list. So he's going to go ahead and walk around the coffee house here, his medium advance. Easily within range 4 of Crossbones, and he's gonna throw his shield at him. This is an attack that, for some reason, we can't really quantify why. It's just a 4-die attack, physical, which is usually everyone's probably their best defense most of the time. It just does absurd damage all the time. I don't know if it's just some sort of America stuff or whatever, but I end up doing 1 damage here. And proccing the Ricochet, and the Ricochet is going to be in range of Red Skull. So even though Red Skull's way back there behind the building, he is within range 3, and LOS doesn't matter for this attack. So we go ahead and roll dice on him too. And the Ricochet, which Red Skull obviously didn't see coming, does 3 damage. USA. USA. Back to Andy. His Ultron's going to advance twice and stand on the serum canister. First action point gets him there. I think he ends up adjusting a little bit with his second one, just getting a little bit better position. It looks like he's angling to get his Crossbones within a particular range. I think he's trying to get him within range 1. So we'll see what he's up to there, probably on a later turn. Back to the good guys. And Black Widow's going to sprint over there, climb up onto that size 3 tank, which it's nice we've built them where the turrets come off, so they can be nice and flat to accommodate characters standing on them. That's why you don't see a turret on that one. And she's standing on the canister. Andy's Iron Man's just gonna double advance full speed here, and he's gonna end up kind of just standing in front of the Avenger herbs, the ones that I need to capture and bring back to my side. And you know, I think his intent here is to just jam it up a little bit, make it hard for me to necessarily get by it, and make me have to deal with Iron Man maybe. So back to me, and my Black Panther is just gonna advance along, trying to check range, see if I can get a strike in there. It doesn't look like I can. And from this point forward, I'm just kind of deliberating what to do. I use the wrong measuring tool here. I'm not sure what I'm up to, but he's gonna pounce, and the pounce is gonna get stopped by that Jersey barrier. So the range didn't really end up mattering, but I don't know why I used the 2. I should have used the small. So the Jersey barrier is broken from the pounce. I've spent 1 action point total. And now I'm going to go ahead and strike Iron Man with Vibranium Claws, causing a net damage, 1 net damage, after the reduction from Invincible Iron Man. Wasn't really thinking super clearly here. This attack does a mandatory push, the strike. It's not an optional one. So I shove back Iron Man, and there's all kinds of like scenario tokens sitting there, and I just shove them right onto him for some reason. Just kind of, you know, it's kind of kill crazy early. It's fun to get attacks in on round 1. I end up shoving him right onto his serum canister, which was a mistake. Back to Andy though, he's going to activate his Zemo, and he does a long advance, and is just barely in strike range to strike Black Panther. He ends up dealing just a damage, and collects 2 power due to the Cabal leadership ability. And we are going to knock that fence over about 20 more times, so get ready for that. That's just the end of round 1. Quick round as usual on 1. Score is 2-2. We both ended up controlling the 2 serum canisters closest to sort of our territory. So I still have the priority because I started the game with it, and my Black Panther is going to activate and use the Mantle of the Black Panther, which I think is arguably one of the best, if not the best, superpower in the game, especially in Avengers. It costs 1, you know, because of the Avengers discount, if it's the first one he uses for the turn. Zemo is going to use Master Swordsman, and only ends up taking a total of 1 damage from this strike. So Black Panther ends up picking up 1 power. Black Panther's got a couple powers, so he uses it to pounce on Zemo. Zemo nearly dodges it entirely, only ends up taking a point of damage from it. But it does get me on the Wakandan herbs, which is pretty nice. Black Panther, of course, is going to pick up the herbs here, and he's going to do a strike on Zemo. So the mystical flora of the herbs adds additional power or additional die to the attack, and he ends up dealing 3 damage to Zemo, despite his Master Swordsman superpower, dazing Zemo, and also pushing him away. So real good activation out of Black Panther. We found that in our games, the Zemo can be, you know, pretty fragile, I would say. But he is especially fragile with Black Panther. It's just like a predator-prey situation. He really can't damage Black Panther very reliably, even with all his dice fixing and such. And Black Panther just destroys him. Mantle strikes just crush, you know, kind of softer characters like Zemo. That's him getting pushed back and laying down on the ground. Back to Andy. He's going to play the tactics card Drop Off, which is, you know, what Ultron was lining up for last turn. He scoops up Crossbones, and zips all the way to the top of the size 5 building and drops him off up there. So even though Ultron doesn't actually land on the building, he can drop Crossbones up there on the top because he's within range 1. When he lands, he gets a free strike. I guess it's essentially him just like landing, you know, boots first on Iron Man. Deals no damage though. Can't dent the Mark 7 armor. With his second action, Ultron's going to throw a torrent of energy in a blast at Iron Man. And even with the protection of the armor, he's going to end up taking a total of 3 damage after the Invincible Iron Man reduction. So pretty good second action there for Ultron. Also gets to collect 3 power off that as well. Captain Marvel's in her favorite spot, which is the beginning of her activation and in range 4 of a character that has 2 energy defense. So since those conditions are met, she's not going to screw around at all. She's just going to energy blast Crossbones up there, up on the tall building. It's a really efficient attack with the rerolls. She ends up dealing 2 damage after Inert to Pain, so 3 damage minus the 1. And at this point, she's collected enough power to go into binary form. And because of that, she's going to energy blast him again. But it's going to have 2 additional dice from the binary form buff. And this is going to be enough to daze him, because his 2 defense is just not going to be enough against this barrage of dice I get to roll and re-roll here. I somehow managed to lose it in editing, or maybe it didn't get filmed, but he's going to end up dropping the herbs, the Cabal herbs, onto my side of the tall building he's on. So basically right in front of Cap and Danvers there. Now back to Andy. He knows he needs to get those herbs picked up again. His Red Skull is going to do a climb action to the top of the building, and he's going to end up being able to scoop up those herbs because he is within range 1. And from that elevation, he's going to be able to attack Iron Man directly. He's just like a couple feet from him, probably. He Cosmic Blasts him and ends up doing, after reduction, a point of damage. And he saps a point of power from him as well, so ends up collecting 2 power total. He's going to finish up his activation. He's used 2 action points at this point, but he can use the superpower Master the Cube to essentially teleport himself off the building and behind, which is good for him because that's he was in a lot of line of sight of my characters up there. I'm gonna activate my Iron Man, and he can still see Red Skull, so he's gonna Friday AI and fire at Red Skull. Red Skull evokes Hail Hydra though, and Ultron ends up standing in his place and takes 4 damage and gets pushed back. And Iron Man's going to collect 4 power because he dealt the 4 damage. And Iron Man, with the assist of Friday AI again, is going to fire another Repulsor Blast down at Red Skull. This time there's no lackeys nearby to take the damage for him, and he's going to end up taking 4 damage as well. He's going to drop the Cabal herbs and is dazed. Additionally, he's going to get pushed back from the wild effect on Repulsor. So extremely strong Iron Man turn there. Dazed 2 characters, dealt 4 damage to 2 characters, dazing 1 of them, and knocked the herbs out. Real nice stuff. Andy counts up the models and realizes that I have 2 activations to his 1, so he decides to pass. So I activate my Captain America, He's going to advance towards the serum canister that's in the Cabal territory. And he's going to politely ask all the Avengers to assemble. The tactic card's Avenger Assemble lets any Avengers advance short distance for 1 power. Ultimately, after a lot of humming and hawing and trying to figure out what to do, Black Panther, Cap, and Iron Man are going to use power to reposition. So saw Black Panther get further away. Cap's going to go get on that serum canister and take it for the good guys. And Iron Man is going to get himself off of that building and next to Cap on top of that dumpster. Cap throws his shield at Ultron, but it glances off of his metal chassis. Maybe scratches his paint a little bit. So I guess shield throw doesn't always do huge damage. Back to the bad guys. Cabal Iron Man has Friday AI, and he's going to repulsor Black Panther. Black Panther, as always, super durable due to his vibranium suit, and he's going to end up taking no damage to this attack. And Iron Man's pretty low on power, so he cannot use Friday AI, but he does a unassisted repulsor blast at my Black Panther, and he deals a point of damage to him. And I can't recall if he rolled a wild here, but he was not inclined to push him back. Back to me, last activation on the round is going to be my Black Widow. Advancing the short distance here on top of the tank. Kind of checking, making sure I'm not putting myself into attack range of Iron Man there. And she's in range to give some medical attention to the King of Wakanda. She's going to spend 3 power and end up removing all 3 damage from Black Panther. That's going to be round 2. I'm going to score 3 consoles to Andy's 1. The score is now going to be 5-3 to me. Good guys. Avengers. America. Andy's going to have the first activation of this round. Due to the sort of pummeling he took on the last one. Ended up lower model count than me. So he's going to activate Zemo. And during Zemo's activation, really before he gets going with it, he's going to end up playing the tactics card Dark Reign on my Black Panther. And this is sort of like I guess like a team up, a called weakness or something on Black Panther. So all the Cabal characters on his side will have much more efficient attacks against him. They basically get to reroll all their dice. So, you know, Zemo, who is now the Lord of Rerolls, is going to charge Black Panther with a Swordsman's Strike. So the charge just lets him, you know, move his advance along and do a strike or another attack, just whatever you pay for. This is going to be a strike with the Master Swordsman ability. So effectively, he's going to have 3 sets of rerolls. He's going to have a Dark Reign reroll set, a Master Swordsman set, and then he gets 1 die of rerolling from Master Strategist that's built into, or excuse me, Strategic Genius that's built into Zemo. Lots of rerolls. So you can see him here just picking up dice and rolling them and picking up dice and rolling them here. This is going to take a minute. Looks very effective. I'm very impressed by all the rolling. He takes a point of damage. And I take bleed. So I guess that's Andy's consolation prize for all that effort. 1 point of damage and bleed. And he's going to do it again. This is going to be a Master Swordsman attack, Steel Rush, which is a little bit more effective. It's got an additional die. Lots of rerolling. And some more rerolling. And that's it. Going to do 1 damage. After the attack, he's going to use the free medium advance move to advance towards those that dumpster fenced-in area there in the middle of the table. You can see me here measuring out the range from Black Panther to Zemo. I think the movement from Steel Rush could have been used to put him a little further away, and Andy decided to keep him within range too. That's going to allow my Black Panther to just, on his way out the door, he's going to mantle the Black Panther and strike Zemo. And this also is going to include the buff that the Wakandan herbs give him, which is an additional die on his sort of physical attacks, I believe. This is just going to end up leaving Zemo a bloody mess, all clawed up. He's got 4 damage taken from this, leaving him at just 1 left. Zemo does, because he's still alive, can counter-strike, and that counter-strike is going to do 0 damage. So, as I kind of alluded to earlier, Black Panther, just the natural predator of Zemo's everywhere. And nothing different here in this game. Black Panther's used 1 action point. He's going to go ahead and advance away now. The herbs are over there by the herb receptacle, which is essentially the sort of like point to bring my flag, quote-unquote, back to. Is right there by my Danvers, and you could see me debating like which way to go, down the middle or around. I end up deciding to go around, so that's the first advance there. His long move is awesome, and stay a little bit off the corner because the next thing I'm going to do with this power is pounce. So this is effectively a way to get even more movement out of a character who's got restricted movement right now because he's carrying the herbs. The herbs only allow you to spend 1 action point actually advancing. So this is one of the loopholes or the workarounds to that is Pounce is just a self-throw. So he's just throwing himself. It's not a move action, not an advance. So he is good to go doing that. So he has exceptional mobility. He's going to end his activation. And back to Andy. Andy's Red Skull is going to patch up Ultron. He gets out his soldering iron and zip ties and kind of takes him back to stock. He's looking good. Completely undamaged. So during Ultron's activation, he's going to advance forward onto the canister. And he's going to use a kinetic field generator, which is his throw attack that works only on terrain. He is going to pick up this dumpster that Iron Man's standing on and throw it at Cap. Cap does that cool thing where he kind of rolls into a ball onto his shield and entirely dodges it, takes no damage whatsoever from it. Iron Man gently falls to the ground, also undamaged. Ultron unleashes his Metallic Fury on Cap. And the choice between energy and physical doesn't really matter on Cap. They're both 4. He is going to end up doing 1 damage, but also puts stability condition on Cap. So Iron Man's going to activate, and I use the tactics card Trip Up. So, Cap kind of slide tackles Ultron's legs, and Iron Man repulsor blasts him with Friday AI. It's basically, Trip Up essentially is a kind of a combo attack. If you end up causing damage, which I do, I actually deal 4 damage total here, you also apply Stunned and Stagger to the enemy. So really effective attack. It's going to do the 4 damage, stun him, stagger him, and because it's Repulsor Blast and Arrow Wild, it's going to push him off of the canister objective. And with his last action, he's going to Friday AI again, Repulsor Blast again, but this time up at Crossbones. Only end up doing 1 damage total, which is not a great roll against a Crossbones, but critically going to push him off of the building. It's always good to try to push that kind of character away, slower characters like that. Avengers didn't really account for the sheer aggression of Crossbones. Because of the aggressive rule, when he takes damage from an attack, he can advance, his typical short distance towards the character that attacked him. So he's going to use it to advance forward and stand right on the Cabal herbs. He can't pick them up because it's not in his activation, but he'll be right on top of them when he does activate. So Bones' dad is going to activate here, and he's going to get his vengeance for being thrown around and knocked off buildings. He's going to pick up the herbs, which immediately buff him up as far as his damage output. He's going to Haymaker, which is a dice buff, into an Overpower and a Cap. He's going to roll 9 dice. This is gonna daze Cap, dealing him 4 damage. The other part of the attack is that it can cause a throw, which it does. Throw's gonna go into Iron Man, which makes sense. Iron Man's sitting there on 1 health point or 1 stamina, and it's gonna daze him as well. Then he is going to stride slowly and purposefully towards the herb receptacle on his side of the table. He's got a long walk to get there. You know, he's pretty slow, but being slow is alright if you just kick the ass off everybody in your way. Back to the good guys. Black Widow carefully aims at center mass and rips off a clip of 9mm rounds at Zemo. It's going to daze him with a brutal roll of 5 total hits. He only needed to take 1 point of damage total, but you know what? Sometimes pistols are just better than swords, right? After that, she's just going to kind of crawl back onto the backside of the tank, still holding the canister objective, trying to stay out of Iron Man's range there, make him have to move forward. Back to the Cabal. Red Skull, despite all the damage on him, is going to pull power from the Cosmic Cube. A really risky proposition when you're on your injured side. It spectacularly backfires on him, and he ends up taking 4 points of damage. Nearly enough to actually KO him, so that's pretty wild. So, you know, Andy takes a deep breath, you know, stuff happens. He's going to Cosmic Invigorate Ultron with the Tactics card, and then Red Skull was going to advance forward by that tank near Crossbones. I'm going to pass at this point, because he's got more activations than me now, due to the Ultron Cosmic Invigoration. Andy's going to activate the Cabal Iron Man, and he's just going to full boost ahead and land on the tank, contesting the serum canister that my Black Widow's holding. Back to me. Last activation for the good guys. Danvers is going to activate, walk up a little, reposition. She can't leave the serum canister unattended. It's just bad for winning the game, unfortunately, so she's just not doing anything other than advancing forward. And then back to Cabal, last activation, the Invigorated Ultron. Not that invigorated, because he has to shake the stagger. He only has 1 action point, essentially. He's just going to walk forward onto the canister and end his activation. That is going to end round 3. And we both end up only scoring 1. So Andy kind of slowed the scoring down a bit, which I think is an interesting tactical move that sometimes can really pay off. So we're both going to get that 1 point. Otherwise, it would have been 2-2. So essentially, the net score, we just score slower. And here we go into the next round. I'm going to start the round by having my Iron Man grab Cap in his armpits, pick him up over Ultron, and drop him on the other side there. Into Cabal territory. And that's using the drop-off tactics card. Same card that Andy used earlier with his Ultron and Crossbones. Now you can see here I put down a Ricochet Blast card. The whole turn, this entire activation was planned around doing a real sweet Ricochet Blast into Crossbones and explode him. But then I realized that I'm on the injured side of Iron Man, and I've never, in all my games so far, done a Friday AI Unibeam where I was able to hit like multiple guys. So I decided to do it, and I made a little bit of an error here. When you do an attack that generates multiple attacks, like a beam, Unibeam, Thunderclap from Hulk, the various AoE type attacks, you should probably target the characters that can be bodyguarded to first, whether that would be Cap or in this case Crossbones. I instead put it on Red Skull. Andy Hail Hydras to the Crossbones, and of course he just explodes under the, whatever it is, 9 dice I'm rolling here, or 8 dice energy against his garbage energy defense. So even with Endure to Pain and all that other stuff, it nukes him, and he is going to be KO'd out of the game. But the crafty Nazi escapes harm, which is a real drag because I was hoping to get both of them there. I think that was very feasible if I had just done it in the correct order. And you can see here he's going to drop the herbs, his furthest point from their herb receptacle. Cabal activation. Red Skull really wants to capture the herbs. Wants that Wakandan power. He's going to pull power from his cube again, even though he's only got 2 stamina left, which is a really, really risky move. But, the kind of ballsy move you need to make when you're in Andy's position. He's starting to run lower models than I am, and the score is not favorable. He ends up only taking 1 damage and not dying, so it paid off entirely, but it was it was gutsy. I like it a lot. So he's got that 3 more power to work with. He's going to use that power to unleash the cube on Cap. Cap's going to use his Vibranium Shield, grit his teeth, deflect the damage entirely and with that shield, and not take any damage at all. He is going to end up stunned, however. Now, we do make a small a little error here with the placement of Iron Man and Cap that I want to call myself out for. As you can see me measuring it, and I'm like, oh, well, they're not within 1, so Iron Man can't get stunned by Cosmic Invigoration. But they have to be within 1 because that's where Iron Man dropped off Cap. So, my bad. Didn't end up affecting the game, but, it's a thing that I should have paid more attention to. Back to the good guys. Captain Marvel is excited to have something in range, and she Energy Blasts Ultron, and she's going to just end up dealing the 2 points total needed to daze him. And she's got nothing left to do, nothing left in range, doesn't want to move off the canister, so she's just going to enter activation right there. So the Cabal Iron Man is going to activate, and Andy checks something that makes me break into a little bit of a sweat here, because that range 5 is just a hair out, a couple mil out on my Black Panther. That would have put him in homing rocket range, and he probably could have done it twice. I think he had enough power. That would have been real bad for me. Luckily, that's not the case, so he's checking ranges for other stuff here, but he's going to end up advancing off of the tank and the canister, but still staying within range 1 of the canister to contest it, which is very smart. And he is now within repulsor range, which is the better attack probably against Black Panther ultimately, and has Friday AI augment it and deals 3 damage to my Black Panther, leaving him on 1 stamina. So Black Panther I've kind of held off activating, kind of hoping to wait to the end of the turn to activate him, because if you move him onto the herbs too early and he gets pushed off somehow, then you don't end up scoring. That almost blew up in my face. He is really badly hurt. So he has 1 HP left and bleed. Lots of power, though. So back to me. My Black Widow is going to activate, and she's going to use a mixed technique, which does not happen very often. Some sweet martial art moves. I don't know, twists Iron Man's fingers behind his back, ends up dealing a point of damage, and also staggers him, which is a pretty sweet rule. So he's going to have 1 less action point the next time he activates. And her second action point, she is going to follow it up with a strike, which for her is an energy attack. Not a very good one, but it does end up dealing a point of damage to Iron Man, so she had some pretty good dice. Honestly, this whole game, every attack she's done has been pretty damaging, and she really roughed up that Zemo earlier too. So last activation, I essentially get to double activate there at the end because Andy's out of models. Black Panther sees his opening, advances long around the coffee shop, and then uses Pounce. And the Pounce is going to give him enough movement to get on the serum and on the receptacle for the herbs. Now, so that's essentially, that's an action used and a superpower used. So he has one action left, and he uses it to clear bleed. Otherwise, he'd die, and I would not score the points for bringing the herbs to the receptacle. So you can see me making a lot of hand gestures here, trying to count stuff out and figure out sort of what's going on, trying to count out the totals. I did not realize that the herbs end up giving you 4 victory points, but they do. So I'm going to end up scoring 6 points to Andy's 0. 4 from the herbs, and I have 2 canisters, and then there's that one canister that's contested and nobody controls it. So we kind of look at what's left on the table. You can see Andy's cards there on the left. He's got multiple characters that are, like, his Ultron's going to be clean, but his other 2 characters are going to get either flipped or killed with very little damage applied to them. He's only got 3 models left, and he is down pretty significantly in the score. So he decides that he's going to tap out, and we're going to call it there. Avengers win, and the Wakandan herbs are safe. So to give kind of a quick synopsis of sort of where it went right for me and where it went wrong for Andy, I think early on in the process of actually building rosters, and not the building rosters, but selecting teams and selecting the mission, I saw that he was likely going to play Cabal based on his card pool, and I really liked. I wanted to play Avengers, and I had Black Panther. And I saw he did not have a Black Panther in his pool, and I decided to play the Wakandan herbs and hopefully get that one. You have a decent chance of getting to, like, when you win the initiative especially, you have a pretty decent chance of selecting the scenario. So once I won the initiative and got to pick the red deck, I had a pretty good shot of getting to play the herbs mission, and it ended up panning out for me pretty well. So that was kind of, I think, one of the early things. I tried to hunt some bad matchups, like Danvers into Crossbones and Black Panther into Zemo. I thought that went, pretty well. Some of it's just dice, and Zemo probably should have done more damage to Black Panther, but I was generally very happy with that left flank. I feel like I put pretty minimal amount of force into it and still took it. So, but that's it for now, guys. Thanks so much for watching. This is our 3rd video, so hopefully they're just kind of generally improving, and we're always looking for input on the games themselves, the way we make the videos, the graphics, the voiceover, etc. So any input you got, please leave it for us. We'd love to hear it. Yeah, like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week with another one.